Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the GI Huddle. Today we're speaking to Neil Erlick, Chief Corporate Development Officer at payments firm Nuvei. Hi Neil, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you for having me.
Yep, it's our pleasure. We're excited to have you on and talk about Nuvei as well as gaming payments more broadly. To start off with, can you give us an insight into the company's history and what you do as an organization?
Sure. Well, Nuvei is a large global payment technology company. We operate in over 200 markets around the world and offer over 455 different alternative payment types in over 200 markets, 150 currencies. We recently launched actually 40 additional cryptocurrencies. And really our goal, Tim, is to make the world a local marketplace. And we do that by connecting our customers with their customers and allowing them to not only pay, but get paid kind of anywhere they are around the world in a timely manner and obviously in a very safe environment.
Absolutely makes sense. Looking at your experience, you've obviously got a lot of experience in the payments sector. What does your role specifically cover at Nuvei?
Yeah, you talk about my experience. I always sound old when I say this, Tim, but yeah, I've been in the industry for close to 21 years now. So I have definitely seen a lot of stuff, and the evolvement of digital payments, obviously in the industry. My role is I'm the Chief Corporate Development Officer. I oversee all of our strategic partnerships. Work very closely, obviously, on our M&A and strategy. And given my experience in gaming, setting up the infrastructure and the strategy as it relates to our North American initiative.
Sure. And as you mentioned, obviously, Nuvei is very involved in gaming. I don't think we'd probably wouldn't be having this interview if you weren't. So, looking at gaming payments specifically, obviously I don't want to say in the midst of a pandemic because hopefully we're on the way out. But we've had a pandemic, certainly unprecedented. During COVID-19, what trends have you witnessed in gaming payments as a result of what we've all gone through globally?
Sure. Well, as a whole, we didn't see the kind of same kind of blip that a lot of companies did, with COVID. If you look at the industries that we operate in, gaming obviously being one, they kind of always have three main criteria in terms of where we focus. So it's an industry that has inherent growth and tailwinds. It has longevity, and it has the propensity to operate globally. And so when you look at that, the industries we've been in, we started seeing the growth before the pandemic. And so what we think specifically as it relates to gaming, the progress has continued. I think some areas that you see an increase in was kind of the cashless aspect, if you look at brick and mortar and kind of the involvement of cashless. But really, some of we look at the total addressable market and how that's maybe kind of gone, it's expedited the process, but we don't see it kind of coming and going the way certain industries would. If you look at people that are now buying their groceries online, are they going to go back to the stores once they open up? Probably some of them will. But if you look at, people that are doing their workouts, are they going to go back to the gym, or they can continue, working out, digitally? So for us, when you look at gaming, I think that specifically in North America, what you've seen is an acceleration of some of the markets opening, some of the states opening, because these states needed those tax dollars. The brick and mortar casinos had no choice but to move towards more of a cashless option. So we've definitely seen probably an increase into what we think is a very nice sized TAM.
Sure, and as you say, kind of just corroborating what you said there, you see this as maybe more of a long-term and kind of permanent shift to cashless.
I do. I think, there's obviously tremendous momentum. Look, if you look around the world, right, for us, our business is global. And so our business continues to grow globally. And there's certain areas that have obviously already opened up. I thought it was incredible to hear yesterday, from, in a board meeting with the AGA, what blew my mind was that the gaming revenues in March and April in Nevada were the highest that they've been since 2013. And so when you think about that, the economy just reopening, I think this is kind of just the beginning. I think people are hungry for some different entertainment. People have been, it's been a very tough year for millions of people, for everyone around the world. And so, yeah, I think this is an acceleration. I don't think it's going anywhere. We're very bullish, obviously, on the gaming industry. We've been doing it for close to 15 years. And, we think that it's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah, sure. To pick up on that point about Nevada, when I saw those figures, my jaw almost dropped to the ground. That is outstanding considering everything that the gaming industry has been through recently. My next question, you mentioned earlier that you oversee kind of the M&A, and with Nuvei we've seen quite a few acquisitions recently. I think most recently, unless there's one more I haven't seen just yet, is Mazuma. Can you talk us through, and obviously you're well positioned to be the person to describe it. Can you talk us through the company's M&A strategy at the moment?
Sure. Well, I'll talk about the strategy, and you did miss one because we announced one after market close last night. We acquired entered into a definitive agreement to buy a company called Simplex, which is an on-ramp, off-ramp fiat to cryptocurrency payment company. And so before I touch on Mazuma, I talked about the 40 cryptocurrencies that we enabled our merchants around the world to accept last month. Now acquiring Simplex. What's really interesting about Simplex is that they offer the ability for consumers to buy and sell crypto using their debit and credit cards, and they fully indemnify the solution. So there's a no chargeback guarantee to the merchants. So whether that's the exchanges and the wallets, anyone that's accepting payment for the on-ramp, off-ramp, buying, selling of cryptocurrencies. So we think that and the technology that they've developed in order to guarantee those transactions, we think can be applied to other industries. So we're very, very excited. Again, that one was just announced late last night. Mazuma, we think is a game changer. So we find the user experience, the tech incredible. Their partnership with Plaid, for account-to-account payments is we think is industry leading from a consumer perspective. I think 1 in 4, U.S. customers today have an experience using Plaid, so they understand the kind of interface when they're going to be getting to a gaming operator site. So we're very excited about what Mazuma brings, but really for us, what it does is it kind of extends our current offering. So our goal at Nuvei is to always provide the operator. Now we're talking gaming specific, but it's really across the board. Our goal is to provide the operator with any way that a consumer wants to pay and get paid. We want to give them that ability, no matter where they are. So now we're talking about the US, but this is really globally. So if you look at, what Mazuma offers, they just launched, the first company to do this for gaming in North America, real-time payments. So with the real-time payment rails, a customer can request a payment to their bank account and get those funds instantly. So we all know the way a consumer likes to operate, right? If they win and they want to get their money out of the site, well, we now have the ability to pay them instantly to their bank account. You couple that with what we're doing, in partnership with the card associations and Visa Direct or OCT, the ability to put winnings back to a Visa debit card, for example, also in real time. So for us, taking care of that kind of, there's this instant gratification, obviously, that consumers are now expecting in today's world. So enabling our operators to provide that for their customer, massively important. And then working on the money in, multiple acquiring relationships that we provide, connectivity to all the different alternative payment methods that are in the market. And then, of course, with the acquisition of Mazuma, we think we're very well positioned and we like where we're at. The one thing I'll add to that, because you talked about the M&A strategy, I talked about Mazuma and I talked about Simplex because those are the two most recent. But really our strategy is pretty, we look at 3 things, Tim. We look at when we're doing M&A, does it help us from a product capability standpoint? Does it help us enter into new geographies, so new territories around the world? And is there an opportunity, for scale or something that's transformational? So, the last 2 acquisitions, we feel, check those boxes, and we're very, very excited with both of them.
It sounds like not just Nuvei, but there's some great strides forward in payments as a whole. And I'd like to pick up on kind of, because you've mentioned cryptocurrency, obviously, with the acquisition, and you mentioned it earlier as well. Lately, we've been asking a lot of companies, do you think cryptocurrencies are sort of here to stay for the long term? And what is Nuvei's take on crypto generally? And I'm assuming it's a very involved one based on this M&A.
Look, we look at it in the sense of making sure that if our customers and their customers want to either pay or get paid in cryptocurrencies, we want to enable that for them. It's almost an additional, alternative payment method that we have. So I talked about the 455, which is increasing, all through a single integration, single platform, the ability now to offer, 40 cryptocurrencies on top of that, plus the ability now to then, for those exchanges and wallets that are actually accepting, debit and credit cards from their customers, to be able to accept those funds in a guaranteed fashion, we think is an incredible solution. Is it here to stay? I don't think cryptocurrency is going anywhere. I think it's a young industry still, despite the people that have been in it for years. It's evolving, the regulatory, landscape around it is changing constantly. I think you're seeing, a lot of very large brands, big banks, investment banks that are now getting involved. So no, we think that, I think that it'll continue to evolve, but we absolutely think that, in some capacity that cryptocurrency is here to stay.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. And if we look at things maybe geographically, for my next question, looking at the US, and often when you say US market, people will correct you and say, well, there's a number of markets within the US, but the US as a region, what is Nuvei targeting and aiming to achieve within the US?
I don't know if that's a gaming specific question, but we have a large user base more on the SMB side in the US today. It's kind of how we got our start, 17, 18 years ago. So we have a big presence in the US. We have offices, across the US and salespeople in the US. So, we're focused obviously globally. I talked about the 200 markets, but US is now, a big focus. I think when you look at gaming in the US, we see a tremendous opportunity. You'll hear our CEO say a lot that we've taken a bit of a crawl, walk, run approach to the US as it relates to gaming. We have tremendous partnerships around the world with some of the largest gaming operators, and provide payment services to them in many, many countries. So the US for us is just an extension of what we already do. And why is that important? Because the merchants and the operators, some of the largest sports betting operators, the largest gaming operators in the world that use Nuvei today, as they now enter the US market, we make it very, very easy for them to start accepting payments, both from an acquiring perspective, from an account to account with things like Mazuma, the real-time payouts that I said. So when they use us for Europe and they use us in LATAM, now when they're entering the US, we take care of all the heavy lifting, and that's really, one of the strengths that we offer them.
And do you operate, when we look at gaming, do you operate in online payments, land-based, or both?
Our focus now is it's an interesting question. Our focus is digital. So our focus, right now is digital across the board. That being said, we have the capabilities to do so on the land-based side. But what we feel, where the industry is heading, when you hear a lot about cashless gaming, what people don't really understand is what cashless gaming, most of the transactions, if not all of those transactions, are actually digital transactions. So you're actually loading a prepaid card, or you're loading a digital wallet, before you hit the casino floor, where you can then use your smartphone, to play at the slot machine or eventually at the table. So we look at that as an extension of digital payments, right? So a lot of people look at it and say, well, that's brick and mortar, but we see it a little bit differently, because the transactions, again, are people that are going to be funding their accounts in a digital manner, oftentimes before they even get to the brick and mortar casino.
Mm-hmm, sure. And the final kind of real area I wanted to ask you about is, seeing as we were just discussing the US, where does sports betting, which is obviously so rapidly growing in the US at the moment, fit into the wider payments picture?
Look, I mean, sports betting, that's what everyone's excited about right now. I think when you look at the momentum, obviously not just with the success of companies going public that are in the sports betting space, all of the M&A that's happening in the sports betting space, the revenues are increasing. More and more states are opening up as it relates to sports betting. You're seeing, not only the pro sports leagues, but professional teams. You're seeing the large networks across the U.S., the media companies that are all getting involved. So clearly, everyone's very excited about sports betting. So are we. And from a payments perspective, we don't really look at it any differently than we do other aspects of gaming. What we try to do, and what we believe, we do very well, is again to give the operator and their customer all the tools that they need to pay and get paid in a very timely fashion, and now in real time, which we think is absolutely key, and continuing to do so in a safe environment. So we think, again, we love the position we're in. We think the momentum is amazing across the industry, and we look forward to the continued growth.
Certainly exciting times ahead. Hopefully for Nuvei, best of luck, but also for the wider gaming industry and payments in general. Neil, thank you very much for your time and for your analysis.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Tim. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you for watching our interview with Neil from Nuvei. Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of the GR Huddle. And for more news on gaming payments, be sure to check out gamblinginsider.com and gamingamerica.com.